as I said, I'm a sitting city council member, City of Lincoln. I'm in the middle of my fourth term, 14 years on the council. I've served 3 terms as mayor. I sit on every major regional committee. I am the immediate past chair of Placer County Transportation Planning Agency, the current chair of the South Placer Regional Transportation Authority. I've been on the board of the Sacramento Area Council of Governments for, you got all this information, right? Been on SACOG for, I think we're closing in on 10 years now. I sit on the board of the California Council of Governments and many, many others. That's just in way of background and experience. My family came to the area in the late 1940s. We are very deeply rooted in Placer County. My wife's family has me beat. They came in the 1890s and have been on the same rice farm in South Placer ever since, and continue to farm rice there. As far as why I'm running, that's an interesting story. So the current supervisor for District 2 I used to say that he's been in the seat for 26 years. He corrected me. He's been in the seat for 28 years. And a lot has changed during that time. The city of Lincoln, when the sitting supervisor was first elected, had a population of about 8,000 people. It's now in excess of 50,000 people and growing rapidly. The city of Roseville was about, I believe, 75,000 people at that time, and is over 150,000 now. And I don't know if you know this, but Placer County itself is projected to grow by 30% over the next decade. That's 120,000 new residents in 10 years, 12,000 a year coming to Placer County, and most of them coming right to District 2. It's where all the growth is happening. The result of that, obviously, is it puts incredible strains on many of our systems. Law enforcement is going to have to grow to be able to handle that. Transportation, we need to widen Highway 65. We need to and all these are projects that are shovel ready, but we don't have funding just yet. Widen Highway 65. We've got congestion points all along 65 if you've been out this way. The 8065 interchange has been redesigned and needs to be realigned, both for safety, but also to remove that bottleneck. We move about $5 million worth of goods through that 8065 interchange every hour. And having that congested, having that goods movement slowed down impacts our economic abilities within the region. Housing, affordable and otherwise, we are behind the curve on providing housing. We need to get that done, but we need to do it in a way that preserves quality of life for Placer County. Economic competitiveness is obviously a big deal. We need jobs to be able to support those families that move into our communities, and obviously homelessness is a really big issue. So the reason I'm running is I've taken a look at all of those. I am perfectly content to stay in Lincoln and do the good work as Lincoln continues to grow and mature. But this once in this is only the second time in over 50 years that the Placer County Supervisor's District 2 seat has come open. It has always been filled by an individual who lives in the rural county, never in a municipality, never understanding the needs of the constituents who actually live in the cities. The majority of the constituents for the district live in our cities. And so the supervisors tend to, I believe, govern as though they represent the unincorporated county only. And they don't, they represent the entire county, cities included. And yes, there's some overlap. Obviously, as a council member, I don't want supervisors coming in and try to run my city, but there are overlaps of services. The county provides, obviously, law enforcement. They provide the jails, the courts, health and human services, many other services that we need, and where we should be partnering and working together on all of these things. And I haven't seen that from the current supervisor, and I don't see even the knowledge of the challenges that are before us in the other candidates. So without seeing somebody with the knowledge, experience, and relationships built over many, many years, who are ready and willing to step into the role, I felt I had to. Well, I think the overall header is growth, right? But then there are all those breakouts as a result of that. So that rapid, I won't say unprecedented, because prior to the recession, we were growing pretty rapidly then too. But that rapid growth is the biggest challenge facing us, and all the impacts that result from that. And it's, some people might say, well, then slow down, stop building so many houses, stop growing. And in some respects, I think many of us wish we could. So RENA is effectively the state of California coming forward, and for every jurisdiction throughout the entire state, and I'll simplify it, they're essentially saying California is going to grow by this much in the next 8 years. Okay, every jurisdiction, here's your share of that growth. And they assign a number to each jurisdiction. In the case of the city of Lincoln, it's a little over 5,000 housing units that we have to plan for and be ready to have constructed over the next 8 years. If we fail to do that, or to at least be able to demonstrate a very concerted effort to do that, there are consequences within the state, the largest of which could be that the state comes in, takes away our land use authority, and starts making those decisions for us. Nobody wants that. So the growth is coming, the growth is going to happen, and we just need to find the best way, the least impactful way to grow, to preserve our quality of life. Placer County is a really special place. I don't know if you get up here very often, but anyone who comes here recognizes that it is different, that it is not, that Sacramento County and Placer County are unique and different. Each has their pluses and minuses, but Placer County is a special place, and we need to preserve that. And so the county, as of late, has been acting, in my opinion, like a municipality, like a city. Major developments are meant to happen within the municipalities, within the formal cities. The county, however, in Placer County, as of late, has been approving massive development projects in the unincorporated county, right on the borders, in some cases, of our cities, in direct competition with our cities. And in some cases, those are, in the case of a project called Bickford Ranch, it's in a rural area. In the case of Placer Ranch, yes, it's in an area that has industrial areas around it, but it is also open space, sitting between Roseville and Lincoln and Rockland. And so I think that you need to, whenever practical, be directing, as we are supposed to, those major developments to our cities, and not spreading them out into the unincorporated county. There's some times where that's going to be unavoidable, and you just need to do that very, very wisely. I sit on did sit on the board, the ad hoc commission, I guess I should say, of something called the Placer County Conservation Plan, which was a partnership with Placer County and the city of Lincoln. We are the only city to sign on to that. And that's effectively a habitat conservation plan that attempts to protect and preserve open space and habitat and wildlife species throughout Western Placer County. That's part of preserving that quality of life, setting all of that aside and protecting it while within the cities we do that development and that growth. So keeping that balance, I think, is between those two things, pulling the development back in to the cities where it's supposed to be happening, that doesn't mean that I believe that we should stop those projects that have already been approved. We can't do that. But moving forward, as projects come forward, as developers come forward, anytime that we can direct that growth to our municipalities, to our cities, we should. So Hillsdale College is would be a wonderful addition to Placer County. I think it would fit really well. I'm not sure if you're familiar with John Adams Academy. You familiar with them?
A little bit, base knowledge.
So John Adams Academy is a K through 12 charter school based in, and I'm not going to be able to phrase this well. They are grounded in the founding fathers and the Constitution, and a liberal arts education in the classic sense. That paired with William Jessup University, which is also in Placer County, and now Hillsdale coming on. I think that is an incredible partnership in education for Placer County. Geographically, it does do exactly what I talked about. It shoves out into the farmlands. And I should say I have no issue whatsoever with Hillsdale College. But the way it comes about, the way the money becomes available for Hillsdale to build that campus, is that some of the properties will be sold off for development. So the housing will have to come first to provide the funding for the college, or at least that's the plan right now. So mixed feelings about that, because it shoves out again into some of the more rural farmlands, but a great project. Probably in an ideal situation should have been annexed into Roseville. But it didn't play out that way. So we move forward from here. I look forward to having Hillsdale in Placer County and all the good work they're going to do here. Yeah, that's tough. A lot of it is market driven, isn't it? It's the cost of labor and materials. What we can do in government is, frankly, get out of the way as best we can. Projects can take many, many, many years to get permitted. And all that adds additional cost. The faster they can move through the process with the lowest possible fees, the better. And in that way, they'll be able to have less carrying costs before that project gets up and built. So if we can streamline our regulations, and to some degree, the Placer County Conservation Plan did that. It brings some of the environmental regulatory permitting back on a local level and away from the state and federal governments. So that's a tool within that kit. But we need to be able to partner to the degree we can with developers who are actually building these housing projects. Government, for the most part, doesn't and shouldn't be in the business of building houses, building homes. There are partnerships along the way for affordability that do make good sense. But overall, how do we help those who build housing as quickly as possible and as cost effectively as possible? And some of that is being willing to take a look at different product types, smaller lots, single family homes, smaller lots, even zero lot line. You're familiar with that? Zero lot line is a type of, it's such a small lot that what would typically be 5 feet of separate, the house, 5 feet to a fence, another 5 feet in another house. So zero lot line takes that and puts on a map 2.5 feet on either side of that fence. But in reality, the fence goes I'm not explaining this well. The fence goes halfway down the lot line, and it jumps over. It uses the actual wall of a house as part of the fence line, rather than have the fence with 2.5 feet. It just makes for a method of reducing the size of the lot and therefore the cost of the land that the house is built on. So things are incremental, right? Where can you save money? And that's typically smaller lot, smaller residential units. What I can tell you is there's a new product type that's coming into Lincoln. It's beginning to spread throughout the entire region, I think, which is developers building houses as they normally would, but retaining ownership of them as rental units. So actual single family homes, but they're rental units with an HOA, clubhouse, pools, all the rest. And that's another tool in that affordability kit. That is a tough one and a really big conversation. So if I talk too much, forgive me. I'll try to keep it tight. Placer County is actually doing pretty well on the homelessness issue. The latest point in time count hasn't officially come out, but I think countywide, it's a little over 800 people countywide. So 800 people for a population of 400,000 is doing pretty good. I sit again on another ad hoc committee that is, it's all of the cities of Placer County plus the county itself sitting down and taking a look at the homelessness issue. What are the tools in our kit to solve this? What are we doing right now? How can we augment that? How can we do a better job? And so I'll just share with you my sense of that. We in Placer County have effectively, first of all, it's a really big county, right? It's long, all the way from Lake Tahoe down to Roseville, with uniquely different challenges between the more urban areas of Roseville, Rockland, Lincoln, Gold Country, Auburn, Colfax, all that, and the Tahoe Basin. Very uniquely different challenges there. But the biggest populations of homelessness, the hotspots, are in Roseville and in Auburn. And I think there's some reasons for that. Auburn obviously is the county seat. That's where a lot of the services are available. It's also where the jail is, probation is, all of that. And Roseville is the biggest city in Placer County. So that said, Placer County is currently building, I believe it's an $88 million health and human services facility. You're familiar with that? On their government campus in Auburn. That campus is the old DeWitt Hospital. It was built as a military hospital in the 1940s, later became a mental hospital for Placer County, and still retains many of the barracks many of the structures that were part of that. There is currently a shelter there. Obviously, the county contracts with the Gathering Inn and others to provide programming within that area as well. And the Gathering Inn runs that facility in Auburn. My own belief, at least at this point in time, we continue to explore it, is that campus in Auburn, that facility in Auburn, should be expanded as a centrally located facility to handle every level of the homelessness issue, perhaps including elsewhere on the campus, permanent supportive housing. They're already doing some affordable housing projects on that campus. And I say that for this reason. If they need to maintain their sobriety, to get access to the healthcare, mental health care, all of those programs they need, if they need to, and this will sound silly, but if they need to get up at a certain time, take a shower, get dressed, find a ride, whether that is a friend, a family member, a cab, a bus, get to another destination on time for that appointment. Every single one of those steps is a potential point of failure. And if they miss any one of those steps, they have the very real probability of spiraling downward again. And so that centralized campus concept for me removes a lot of those potential points of failure, because all you've got to do is walk across the campus to that office and to that service, at least in the early stages of getting them into programs, getting them on their feet, helping them out as they get deeper into the care they need, get stabilized, move into something transitional in the way of housing, and eventually either totally out on their own or into permanent supportive housing. All of that makes sense to me. And that would be for that Auburn area. I think that the Roseville, Lincoln, Rockland area presents some different challenges. It is the more urban of the areas, and so more directly impacted by larger shelters, shall we say. There's a proposal by the Gathering Inn to build it's about a 600 bed campus of hope is what they're calling it. That would sit on county land in between each of our cities. And that, conceptually, I understand that, and it's very attractive to elected officials who can turn and say, hey, here's an off-the-shelf solution with everything all inclusive. All I got to do is sign a contract, write a check, and we have 600 beds available to address homelessness. So I think key to all of this is Martin versus Boise, a Ninth Circuit Court decision in which the court essentially said, unless you can provide a bed for every individual, homeless individual you have, you cannot enforce your local ordinances, your no camping ordinances, all of that. So when we start looking at 600 beds at Campus of Hope and let's say 200 beds at Auburn, the reason you're looking at that is, can we provide a bed for every head and therefore be able to then allow our individual jurisdictions to enforce their ordinances? That's what we're looking at. I frequently, more and more frequently now, have contact with our homeless community here in Lincoln. We've got about 45 individuals, all known to us, that are mostly, some are couch surfers. They're folks that, their families kick them out and they're staying with friends, that type of thing. But there are others who are camped out along our creeks, that type of thing. Those folks don't want to come into a program, and we can't force them. And so how do we, within that, how do we address those folks? How do we not have them impacting our community in a negative way, not impacting our businesses? So we need to work on all of that. And so circling back around to that Roseville area or South Placer area concept, I think that those services probably need to be more dispersed, which will mean needing some form of dedicated transportation system, whether that's a van or whether that's giving folks Uber cards, whatever it might be, so that they can get from where they are housed to where those services are available. Makes a lot of sense to me. It's really complex. There are experts in areas where I don't have the knowledge to address exactly how programs should be structured. But we all need to come together, not do, in my mind, not each individual community doing their own thing. This is a heavy lift for all of us. We need to partner on this and come up with solutions and even ordinances that are very, very similar between our jurisdictions. Otherwise, we're just, I come up with some solutions, I come up with some strong ordinances, and all I've done is to drive that problem into another community. We don't want to do that. We want to be very, very similar and partner in all of that. So I've been here pretty much my whole life. I think I know the needs of those folks, but I acknowledge that area of Placer County, well, all of southern Placer County, southwestern Placer County, is changing. We have a lot of folks, especially in that West Roseville area, who've relocated from the Bay Area, who may have different visions and needs than those I'm familiar with. So my plan is to put together an advisory group out of West Roseville, out of the unincorporated areas that I would meet with probably once a month and sit down and have them be my eyes and ears. If I'm getting it wrong, if I don't see something, I need to hear from them. So they would be my eyes and ears. They would be my sounding board, helping us put together solutions and programs to address their specific needs. The other thing I would do is I mentioned that the county has always been represented by, or District 2 has always been represented by somebody in the rural county. This is a small matter, but I don't think it's as small as it seems. If you currently want to visit with your District 2 representative, you have to leave the district. You have to drive up to Auburn to his office at the Domes. So I would immediately, or as rapidly as the county would allow, open a district office in District 2 with an open door policy. It would probably be here in Lincoln, but we can look at the options so that the residents of District 2 know where I am at all times, know my door is open, and know that they can walk in with their issues and we can work on them together. Well, I would not serve a similar length. I'm not looking to do that. The end of my first term, I would be 71 years old. I have things, as I've laid out, that I think are the issues that need to be addressed. They need to be addressed swiftly. And if we're able to get those under control, get us headed in the right direction, one term might be enough. If we get to the end of that first term and we're doing really good work, we're not quite there, then I'd consider one more. But I'm not looking to be there for 28 years. I have no interest in that whatsoever. This isn't about me. This is about the challenges and the work that need to be done to keep our communities a very special, I hate to keep repeating that, but the very special place that I've known pretty much my whole life. So again, it's about the work. It's not about longevity. I don't want that. So 1 or 2 terms max. You know what? It's a lot of what I've laid out. I think will give you the picture that I've been intricately involved for a very long time in addressing these very issues that we're talking about, whether it's SACOG or PCTPA dealing with the transportation issues. I'm a founding board member of the Greater Sacramento Economic Development Council, jobs, economic competitiveness, housing. I actually built in my youth affordable housing. I come from a family of developers, and so I know that industry. I know the needs of that industry. I work very, very well with the BIA, the Building Industry Association. Homelessness, obviously, I'm already working on addressing those issues and very involved. All of that to say that I think, without question, I am the most experienced, the most knowledgeable, and the most ready to hit the ground running to address the challenges that face Placer County over the next 10 years. We can address these issues much, much better in partnership. My sense is we haven't been very good at that recently. We used to have very good partnerships between the cities, good partnerships with the county. Those have broken down a little bit. We've all kind of retracted back into our silos. I think that happened to a degree during the recession. And now as we move forward, as we have to face these challenges, I think we do that much better in partnership. And so that's something that I would try to drive forward, is those partnerships, is that collaboration, not just between my city or the district and the county, but between all the individual jurisdictions, all the cities, the county, all together, working to solve these very large issues facing Placer County. There is no question that shifting to a new staff, the county staff, new board members, partners there in governance. There's a bit of a learning curve. There's getting to know the players. There's getting to know the structure in the organization. There's no doubt about that. My knowledge and experience serves me well along those lines. I can move through that swifter. But I think the very first steps are going to be on me. They're going to be outreach from me to county staff, to other jurisdictions, to the residents living within District 2, that advisory group. That first year is going to have to be about building those relationships and starting to stand up those partnerships.